Perfect.
Great. And so we're live on the Domus Search Leadership Podcast, where I speak with innovative and inspirational leaders of organizations involved in healthcare, biotech, pharma, medical device technology across Europe. And I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted, which is probably going to be a very game-changing podcast today, to be joined by Fiona McKinnon, who's the CEO and co-founder of the Moment Company, or Moment Co, as I see on the website there. And we've just been talking briefly about the right way to introduce the Moment Company, and it covers so many things that we'll dive into, but very much around well-being and performance, and everything else that surrounds that, which I'm sure we'll have loads to talk about. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Matt. It's great to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation as well.
Yeah, me too. And I think the more after we spoke recently, the more I sort of went away and thought about what we'd talk about today and the structure, the more I found our worlds kind of aligned, really, in terms of sport and business and the pressures and what I've gone through in my own journey. And I'm keen to talk more about yours as well and how you manage things as well. But maybe at the start of the podcast, it might be really nice to hear about the story of how you came to found and co-found the Moment Company, and how it helped you maybe as well in your own life.
Gosh, that might take the whole.
I've just opened up a can of worms. Though.
I will try and keep this as brief and punchy as possible. But as you say, we're Moment Company. I'm one of the three co-founders, and we really are focused on sharing the benefits of taking short, regular mind breaks throughout your busy day. So it's not about finding another 20 minutes in the morning or a specific sit down and do practice, but really helping people understand that there are simple techniques out there anchored in practices such as neuro-linguistic programming, of which we're all practitioners and coaches, in breath work, in mindfulness and meditation, that when put together can enable you to take more control over your day, over your mind and your thoughts and situations, and create a real sense of mindset control within your working day. And that means that you don't have to learn anything new. These are all skills that we have. We've just forgotten over time. And you know, we believe as well that it's not just about speaking to people that have suffered from burnout, and I'll come on to that because that's very much my story. It's not just about saying you have to be really stressed or burnt out to feel the benefits of a regular daily mind practice, but it's also about well-being, and it's about performance. So how can I be better than I am today by doing some of these techniques? How can I feel happier, which is something that people don't talk about either? I mean, isn't that all of our goals? It's not just about not to feel as stressed. I want to be happier in life. I want to be curious. I want to kind of try new things. And that all comes from being able to recognize how to change your mind effectively and in a moment, because that is literally all it takes to be able to kind of make a decision. So that's what we do and what I'm passionate about, as you can tell, at Moment Company. The way I got into this is from a very different place, in that I spent 22 years in the advertising, technology, and media world. So I worked for a lot of startups all over the world. I've lived everywhere from Australia to Canada and US and a few places in between. And I was always on, you know, with a startup environment. There is no such thing as a work day. You've got different hats, you know, your input you can directly see is the success of the business. And I just didn't know that I had the power to say no at any point. I was doing all of those jobs. And latterly, I was also working for big corporations. I worked for CNN and within The Guardian as well. And I just didn't know how to stop and take a break. And I thought that balance meant if I partied as hard as I worked and then worked out extremely as well, then that was balance. And dirty vodka martinis whilst training for a marathon and working 24/7 and always on a plane was basically how I was not functioning. And about 10 years ago, I suffered from an extreme physical burnout, and now I reflect back, also mental exhaustion as well. And I was I was forced just to kind of take a rest. But I was curious enough just to wonder what had happened to me and how could I feel better, because I realized that I wasn't doing so well. I was able to recognize that I was a bit broken, really. And, I talk about putting Humpty Dumpty back together again, and that's how I felt. And I started to read about work by Brene Brown, by Abraham Hicks, by Marianne Williamson, by James Clear, Robin Sharma, and so I just started to get more and more curious about those writings. And what really changed everything for me was taking up Transcendental Meditation. And that just completely changed my outlook, and my ability to feel different, and knowing that I had the power to do that. From that, I then became sober. So I'm 3.5 years now. And that's been a huge part of my health, well-being, and mindset as well. So it's been a gradual, always learning, always evolving spiritual journey. I've trained in NLP, I've trained in Reiki, in mindfulness, and I'm breathwork facilitator as well. So all of those things combined is what led me to form and be part of Moment Company.
Wonderful. That's amazing. Gosh, so much to go there.
Version, right?
No, that's brilliant. I'm sure people can Google it, but am I right in thinking Transcendental Meditation? And I read your blog as well. You're getting out of bed in the morning, getting on the ground, and just taking 10, 20 minutes to soak it inside.
So I do it when I wake up in the morning, and usually I'm still in bed. It's just wherever I am, and it's a mantra-led meditation. So you're given a mantra, and in a similar way that moments work, all you're trying to do when you're doing Transcendental Meditation, although it's 20 minutes, you're just looking for that moment where you don't have a thought. So even the most dedicated, I'm not saying there's no point in meditating for 4 hours, but the whole point is you're just chasing that brief second where you go, oh, I didn't think of anything. Oh, damn, now I've thought again. Because we have 60,000 thoughts a day. 95% of those are the same ones we had yesterday. 80% are negative. It's just the way we're all wired. We can't stop that. But with a regular, short practice, whether it's breathing, running, swimming, all of these things, they are regulating your heart rate, they're slowing down and soothing your nervous system, and they're just creating that window in your mind to take a break. And all of those other practices that I mentioned are actually meditative. But it's just that brief moment. So with a practice like meditation, you're just looking to soften the thoughts, not lose them completely, because we can't. We're human. It's what makes us.
And I'll big you up as well. You've been in the sea this morning already in the channel.
It's getting quite chilly.
But you're hardening yourself against the winter, which is a big deal, isn't it? Because again, the source of a lot of mental health issues is the cold and the dark and the winter months. There's a lot of negativity surrounding that. I'm not that guy, but I know a lot of people could find themselves in a bit of a chilly place.
It is mindset, right? And a lot of our practices and our techniques that we share at Moment Company are based in NLP, which is a lot around neuro-linguistic programming. It's a lot around our language, how we talk to ourselves, which is the person we talk to most in the world. The assumptions that we make about the world. Oh, it's always like this. I never get to do that. It's always raining. Well, is it always raining? Can you think of a time when it wasn't? Well, okay, I can think of a time when it wasn't. Maybe when it's really sunny. How did that feel? Oh, it feels great when it's really sunny, doesn't it? And all of a sudden, you've changed your mind out of being in that dark place to imagine being warm and sunny. And I know that can sound probably quite annoying for somebody that likes to be wallowing in the negative, but it literally changes your chemistry. It changes your cellular the cells in your body react differently when you have a positive thought compared to a negative thought. You are rewiring your brain to have that more positive outlook, which has a difference in your posture, in how you show up in the world and how you then react to other people as well.
It's wonderful.
So I jumped about 20 steps ahead.
Hey, no, it's brilliant.
You can make yourself feel happier, even when it is cold and raining and it's dark. You can still tell a happy story.
And it's really nice to hear as well about your story and your founder's story, that there's more to just the tech product here, or there's more to just a pebble, isn't there? There's more to just a moment. There's also you're backing it up as well with your skills and dedication to well-being and performance as well, which is really nice, that you're not just created a product to flog. There's more to it.
I mean, my other two co-founders, we all come from a kind of tech, media, digital background. So this, being in the well-being and having a physical product, which I can show you in a sec, is very different to us. It's been a huge learning curve, but we're all driven by the same experience and same passion. We all got to our burnout and our low point from a different perspective. And Alex, my co-founder, he talks to his was more mental. He had short-term memory loss caused by stress. Charlie's way in was grief, and also family pressure. So we've all kind of got very complementary stories and passions around why we want to bring more moments to people. But what the concept originally was, that whenever you have a practice, or you are looking to remember to take time out for yourself, your phone is not actually the best tool to calm you down. It's often the source of our stress. It's been proven just having it near you is a cognitive distraction. So we thought, how can we create something that reminds people to take time out for themselves, can be tactile, can be a physical product, so that it's soothing to touch. If you think about emotional attachment theory, it's a kid that loves his manky blanket, and unless it has that disgusting rag to soothe, it will scream the place down, right? It's just something we're familiar with.
We've got a 9-year-old bunny upstairs that smells of every type of food you could. You can't ever wash it.
No, right? But there's this emotional attachment, and that never actually leaves us. There's jewelry, there's your favorite mug that you have your tea out of in the morning. It's all to create that sense of comfort and support. So we wanted something that did that for people, for a mental break, but was also guided, was a little bit magical, and it was something that was personal to them. So that's where the idea for the Moment Pebble came from. And it's also based on the fact that pebbles are considered very grounding. It can be a recollection of a nice memory. Oh, I was on the beach and this thing happened. So Charlie remembered being on the beach with his mum and would always pick up pebbles in Cornwall. And we actually have the original ones they picked off the beach that were the inspiration. And that's where the idea was born from. So it's made of natural stone and marble. It's weighted, so it feels like a pebble you'd pick up off the beach, and is soothing to touch, which helps people with ADHD, which can help children as well. But it's guided, so when you tap it 3 times, I'm in front of a big mirror here, but it glows.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
A breathing sequence, which is called cardiac coherent breathing. It's a 5 in, 5 out breath, and that's proven in 30 to 60 seconds to just give you that window you need to stimulate your vagus nerve, calm your heart rate, and just give you that space that we talked about, that moment that you can then bring awareness to your thoughts and go, okay, what next? So it's creating the pause, the physical and chemical reaction that soothes everything down, that comes with the breath, which then in turn creates the little bit of space you need for the awareness of your thoughts and then to act. And it's thought you only need around 1/4 of a second is all it takes for us to kind of have that moment of awareness and mindset shift.
Wonderful. Gosh, so many products that I wish would have been available in funny enough, actually, maybe in simpler times, 20 odd years ago, when I was in sport as well. And we talked briefly earlier on about forming good habits as well, and how this can be used as an anchor for good habits. And it's so great that it's conveniently able to carry in your pocket or whatever you do.
Yeah, well, that was the other
Take that
criteria, that
moment
it was
anytime.
that it was portable, and also didn't need to be charged very often. So it just needs charged maybe like every 3 weeks. So it's not something you always have to remember to another thing to remember to do, but that can also be really accessible for people that maybe don't know where to start. So we have a program that comes with it that just introduces people to the concepts of mindfulness, of breathing, of emotional, how to tap in and understand your emotional and stress signals.
Yeah.
Because although technology has a wonderful place in this world, and technology is so important in the med tech, the health tech, the well-being space, it's also getting us further away from really understanding ourselves, which only we can do. So my iPhone can't tell me what stress feels like in my body. Only I know. And the way that I feel stress is going to be very different to how you feel stress, Matt. And how then we feel better is also a unique experience. And unless we get back to being able to really listen to ourselves, using our gut, using our heart, using our intuition, then we're kind of allowing technology to determine how we feel, and we become reliant on our wearable tech and less detached from ourselves, or more detached from ourselves, I should say. So it's why we're deliberately not attached to technology, and why our programs are about getting people to kind of come inward and really get that sense of being able to check in with themselves and understand what wellness, performance, good decision making feels like for you. Because this isn't just about being stressed and being less stressed. It's also about, as I said before, high performance. It's about tuning into your intuition. It's about making better decisions that ultimately let you live with more ease, which makes you live a healthier life with healthier relationships.
Absolutely. And maybe I'm showing my age here as well, but fortunately from the generation that didn't have mobile phones when I was a kid, and I find it very easy to be disconnected, and also as a golf pro, it's a very solo and lonely life out on the course when you're practicing. So maybe I had the benefit of that training when I was quite young, but I do worry about my kids and future generations who are just constantly connected to their best friend, the device, with artificial friendships online. And I know the Moment Company are involved in the workplace as well, and moving that into performance and well-being in the workplace as well. And maybe before that as well, where, as you're kind of heavily involved in well-being and performance and mental health and the like, where do you see it going from your perspective? And all the maybe not so good stuff that people could try and avoid. Perhaps maybe I'm looking for some tips here to share with them, or the audience could glean some advice from this.
I would say that obviously being overly connected to devices is a challenge in modern life today, and that also is the case in the workplace, right? That always on connection means that our work days are elongated. Do we ever actually switch off? So I feel like we talk about moments, microdoses of stress. So you might not actually even feel that you are under attack during the day, but from the second your alarm goes off, you get a shot of adrenaline and cortisol. That's shot one. Kids might be screaming, dogs barking. You pick up Twitter, the email comes in, and these are all just microdosing you throughout the day. For me, I don't even wear a watch, but when I see people that the phone's going like this the whole time, every time you have an alert, every time, I don't know how people can have notifications that are noisy on their phones. Every time you get that noise, that's a shot of adrenaline. It's actually making my heart rate increase just talking to you about this right now, because it's like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
you
to
just
open up
get
a
that
can of worms.
buzz all day long, right? So that it means that when you get that email at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you go, that's it,
Yeah.
you have that explosion. It's probably not actually that moment at work. It's not actually that colleague. It's not that thing that's created that outburst and that emotional reaction. It's because your well's full. You've topped up throughout the day to a point where you just cannot take on anymore. And that's where the explosion happens. So what we try to encourage is people to take those short breaks that are kind of counterbalancing the escalation throughout the day. And you can actually get to a point where you're in negative. So if you start your day with a good, healthy morning practice, then you've already set yourself from a lower base, so you can take on a little bit more. And then it gets to a point where you're like, well, that didn't even bother me because I feel in control of my breathing today, or I've been for a walk and I've enjoyed some sunshine. So actually, when I sit down to my laptop, I'm in a completely different mindset than if I'd rushed around and allowed all these pings and alerts to kind of distract me. So we always encourage to have just a small, regular morning routine. You can take 5 in, 5 out breaths before you get out of bed in the morning. Good ones just while you're brushing your teeth to kind of check in where your head's at that morning. How am I actually feeling? It's a question we get asked probably most in the day. Apparently in the UK, 215 million times a day we say fine, but don't actually mean it.
Yeah.
So just
auto response.
Yeah, so we're on that autopilot. Just, take a moment when you're brushing your teeth and go, how am I doing today? Okay, yeah, here's some things I want to sort out, but you're almost kind of like mapping out your mind through the day. But I would say one of the single biggest things that makes the difference to me, and I'm not sure if I'm going off on a tangent here,
Not at all, Fiona, not at all.
Is gratitude journaling. Now, I write it down, but being grateful is one of the simplest things you can do to change your mindset in a moment. It's impossible to feel those high energy, stressed, angry states and be grateful at the same time. We just can't hold two emotions simultaneously. So, so before I go to bed every night religiously, I write in a journal that's next to my bedside table, I am grateful for, and I reframe the day from a place of gratitude. So I literally play back in my mind, getting up in the morning, everything I did. I'm grateful that I went for a swim in the rain, as crazy and as cold as it
I'm
was.
so glad it
I'm
rained.
grateful that I had this conversation with Matt. I'm grateful that, I'm going to have a nice lunch and all of those simple things. But it just means that when my head hits the pillow, it's from that place and not from stress.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I was helping out on a NLP course over the weekend, and someone had said, "Oh, I do journaling. I write down every night what I'm stressed about." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, that means you're elevating your stress levels before your head hits the pillow." And he said, "Oh, I thought it was good to get out everything I'm worried about." And I said, "It is, but only if you frame it from a place that's got a positive sentiment to it. If you just write what you're worried about, you're just literally
you might as well just leave the news
your
on.
cortisol hit. And yeah, exactly.
Just leave the news on all night.
Watch CNN before you go to bed. Knock yourself out,
Yeah.
But if you frame it differently, and the way that practice has really helped me is that my dad passed away in 2020, and I went home to look after him for 7 months, and it was hard. It was during COVID and we were caring for him 24/7. But every single day I wrote down, I am grateful for. And the days when it was the hardest were the days I found more to write. A cup of coffee, the sun was shining, we had a laugh, that I can do this. And it was an amazing thing in the moment to do that. It kept me positive and kept me going. But it also means my memories are reframed from a place of gratitude as well. It means that everything I wrote at that time has no sadness. It has sadness in it, obviously, but it also has appreciation. And just something as simple as that if it can work for a digital mind skeptical person like me, I swear it's one of the things that's made the biggest difference in my life.
Yeah, it's really
Being
beautiful.
grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably about 10 years ago, I was listening to Tim Ferriss, and he put a link in one of his posts to get the 5-minute journal. And that got me into the habit on an evening of the 3 things I'm grateful for, the 3 things that I'm looking forward to. And
yeah, that's where I started using that as well.
And now what I really enjoy, actually, if I've got it here, these are my intentions for the day, but I like buying a nice book. You know, something really nice. I found this actually in
Me too.
We shop at the same place, Ryman or Paper Chase or one of the others. But
yeah,
well, isn't it? Just to have a nice and write it with a nice fountain pen that's not a really expensive one, but it's just it writes really well, and it's just something beautiful, isn't it? About that moment, just to, you know, I find the more I speak to them, the more I want to say them. It is the moments, isn't it? The moments that we find all these beautiful. And actually, I've been on a bit of a mission recently. I don't know if I mentioned on our last call about minimalism and reducing clutter and distraction, anything that's not serving a purpose in life, to reduce almost like the stress and anxiety of having the stuff around. It's like, what do I do with it?
Super freeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So and I know we touched early on as well, and we've gone onto the workplace there around, you know, it's more than just the bowl of fruit and you know, the cereal in the cupboard. There's so much more going on, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, well-being in the workplace is an interesting one, and we more and more talk about organizational wellness. For me, well-being in the workplace isn't just, as you said, the free fruit bowl, the gym membership, the mental health duvet days, which is, you know, Headspace subscription. Great, like they are all great, but they are, if you like, the kind of cherry on top. And actually, you know, yes, the pebble can go into that area because it's a product that can help with onboarding. It's a signaling to people, I care about your mental health, and it comes with the program that supports that.
Yeah.
But actually, what we're really interested in is making that real organizational shift towards well-being. And what that means is, in our instance, we run resilience and mindset training and workshops. It's around things like posture, and we have people that we support us with our moments that you can do things that make you feel better as well. It's about resilience training, it's about leadership coaching, it's about conflict management, it's about communication. And then even further beyond that, it's about how do you set good company values? How do you onboard people? How do you remunerate? What's your communication style? What do you stand for? And how do you want people to feel when they come into your organization? And, you know, I always talk about a company I worked for that's motto was more fun, less fear. And it was on posters all over the building. And it was great sentiment, but it meant the word that I saw every day was fear. And then was confronted by the less, which meant that some level was okay, which meant that there was some, but we were trying to reduce it. And funnily enough, it was a fear-based culture. So
carrying it around.
How can we help organizations think about language? Again, back to our NLP foundation, about language, about communication style, about creating psychological safety so that people know how to show up and can be themselves when they walk into an organization. Because the more we can make people comfortable in themselves and their ability and their room for growth, that's got to benefit the business as well. So yeah, we're on a bit of a mission to help companies reflect on that, and I guess really kind of consult with them as to what good well-being and performance means for them, through our workshops, through our seminars, and through our use of moments throughout the working day to really kind of help people goal set within their own environment as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm really passionate about this. And a quote I saw at the weekend was, and I think it came out of America originally, did this war for talent, and then and the lady said,
War
yeah,
for
the
talent.
war for talent, and talent won.
Ooh.
It's terrible, isn't it? And it's been around for about 20 years. As that, I think McKinsey started talking about it about 20 years ago, and it snowballed and turned into this big thing, for the people with the greatest talent win, and it turned into this war scenario. And the
Oh,
talent
well, that's suggesting that in order to win, somebody else has to
yeah, so
lose.
and there's this
Yeah,
massive conflict, and
yeah.
yeah, very American. Sorry, American listeners.
No, no,
Um,
I've worked for American companies and it was all about crushing it, smashing it, killing it. And it's
oh,
like
any
very
American I know,
impressive.
8 days a week, 8 days a week, always on 5 a.m. calls, and it's absolutely insane. But I think where I was leading to as well with that is that there's so many CEOs and leaders of large organizations who are scratching their head thinking, why can't we keep people? Why can't we attract people? Because you keep doing the things that everyone else is already doing, and you're just fighting the same kind of remuneration war, as they would say, or you just who pays the most gets them. So, but it really is, especially now over the last couple of years, turning into who can provide the greatest workplace environments, or whether that's in the office or from home. And
I mean, you just made me think of something there, an analogy which I haven't used before, but I'm going to try out here is that, you think about the old days, our industry was all based in manufacturing. So our factories, our equipment were the most important thing for output. So you would have your whole workforce. And I've got a picture of my grandfather flashing before my mind here because I've got a picture of him. You've got a whole workforce whose job engineers to be making sure the equipment runs smoothly. It's maintained, it's gleaming, it's perfect. It's like, everything is shiny on it because you want to make sure that you can get the highest production out of it.
yeah.
Now that we're less manufacturing and industry led and we're more service led organizations, or we're based more on our people, why aren't we putting the same effort to making sure that our people, who are our most important people that generate productivity, are also looked after, have the best tools at hand, are working well, are flowing with ease? Like all of these things are in our people, and
Well-oiled
yet we don't.
machines.
Well-oiled machines, right? How can
Yeah.
we expect the best out of our organizations and our business if we don't invest in making our equipment, our machines, our people as healthy and productive as possible? When you think of it in those simple terms, it should
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
a very easy conversation, but sadly we still find that we're knocking on some closed doors in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I spoke about with Lee Fell up in Scotland also a few weeks ago was wellness as a competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of SaaS sense of software as a service. I ended up coining that phrase of, the wellness of your workforce is your competitive advantage.
100%. 100%. And also a happier workplace is a more productive workplace. There are statistics that show that. So you don't make good decisions from a bad foundation. So it kind of, goes across the whole organization and all the way up to the top as well, and how they want to be seen by their clients as well. How do the clients feel when they work with an organization that is toxic?
Yeah.
I would imagine not very well.
Absolutely.
It seeps out.
Absolutely. And just to finish, I told you it would go quick. It feels like it was 5 minutes. I just think, what kind of one piece of advice would you maybe give to another CEO now who's looking to hire somebody, or starting to think about their culture and values and setting their organization up for the future workforce? Is there anything you would or could share?
Yeah, I would say that it really is looking at how you want people to feel when they work with you and for you, and that comes from creating a positive working environment, and that comes from ensuring that there's a foundation of wellness at the core of everything that you do, that everybody understands what it's like to work in your business, that you have not just a sign on a wall, but you've thought about everything from your onboarding, your hiring, your exiting, because everybody has the right to kind of, growth, what your growth enablement strategy is for your business. But for me, it's all about how do you want to feel? what kind of organization do you really want? And that's about being able to tap in, as we said before, kind of like tapping into that positive mindset. How do you want your business to run in the future? And then the kind of progress from that will then determine, you know, how you train, how you remunerate, and what kind of business you want to be in the future, because your customers will notice.
Yeah,
absolutely. They will notice.
Yeah, no, it does soak through, doesn't it? That experience, and people are quite intuitive. I think that's probably a powerful place to. Whereas I feel like we need a follow up in a few months, Fiona. You know, I'm more in tune, and I think actually, I think my daughter, my 8-year-old, could do with a few more moments to herself. So I think she's gonna.
Well, there's a whole other conversation around school, around teenagers, and around our supporting young people in their growth as well. So there's a whole other conversation we can have around
My other half's a teacher as well, so maybe there's a further conversation.
Love to be in schools, definitely. Yeah,
I think that's the way, isn't it? Or that's where it all begins. This self-esteem, and
I think children will be the ones who are educating the CEOs for not too long. They're the ones that are tapped into to themselves more than before.
No, absolutely, no, really powerful. And I'll make sure that I'm sharing everywhere, every place that somebody can get hold of you and follow the work that you're doing as well, Fiona.
Thanks so much.
I'm extremely grateful in the essence of gratitude. You know, I'm really, really grateful, because without you, these podcasts wouldn't happen. So I'm really, really grateful for the conversation today.
Thanks so much, Matt. Have a great day.
Thank you. Speak to you in a bit.
Cheers. Bye.